I am reminded constantly that not everybody sees the world the way I do. And I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. And I am fine with people disagreeing with the way I see the world. 844-344-DANA if you'd like to do so, or agree. 844-344-3262. And sometimes it's good to hear that people disagree with you, because it reminds you of how absolutely right you are. So when I talk about this guy you never heard of on Twitter, Science Mike, who makes the argument that if you were to argue with somebody on Twitter, which admittedly is a crazy thing to do to begin with, it's social media. Put out some information, learn something, have some fun, move on with your life. Right? Hey, look what I had for lunch. Boom, set. But if you actually believe that if you argue with somebody, if you're white and you argue with somebody on Twitter who isn't white, that makes you a racist. That is an important thing to notice and to see, because it lets you know how normal you are, how decent you are, and how large the problem is in the world, and how much it's going to take to fight it and be victorious. You heard Dana yesterday talking about this stuff from New York, and this has been going on for a while with the pronouns. That if you use the pronoun he or she in the wrong context, or him or her, you can actually be fined $125,000, or, and by the way, that fine is for discrimination. If you were to say, how are you today, ma'am? And it's not a woman, oh, you get fined because you've hurt their feelings and their safe space has been destroyed. And I don't know, it's inappropriate wording. It's like inappropriate touching, but without the fingertips. And if you do it willfully, willful, wanton, or malicious, it's a $250,000 fine. You heard Dana talk about this yesterday. But this about the word policing there in New York goes in together with this conversation about a guy who says if you're white and you argue on social media with somebody who's black, you're a racist. In both cases, the objective is obedience. I find this is happening more and more. Well, this is what happens from elitists. This is what happens when people who believe they know what's best for you and society try and tell you how to act. And in both these cases, they're doing it via silence. I referred to what this guy was saying about being white and arguing with somebody being racist. That's white silence. As a white person, you don't get to talk. It's crazy. But we know this as conservatives, right? As conservatives, you don't get to speak. Right? A woman is to be revered and respected unless they're a conservative woman, and then you can write articles about how you want to hate blank them. Hate F them. Ask Michelle Malkin about that kind of stuff. Ask Dana about that kind of stuff. Oh, if you're a conservative woman, all bets are off. My gosh, you're not even a woman. Your vagina just falls off. I don't know how that math is supposed to work. But it is about obedience. And it's about obedience via the suppression of free speech. This thing in New York, what this guy is saying on Twitter. ESPN talking about Kurt Schilling, saying we have no tolerance for points of view that aren't inclusive. That is from the chief, John Skipper, the ESPN president. Listen to that line again. We have no tolerance for points of view that aren't inclusive. That's not tolerance, that's intolerance. That's intolerance to another thought or viewpoint. And if you have the improper thought or viewpoint, you are silenced. We see this in our politics, and we see this in our companies. And we need to fight it. More ahead, Tony Katz in for Dana Lash. This is The Dana Show.